All right, and hopefully the audio is working. Welcome back to the Movie Well
Ooh.
Marathon. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mac. Woo.
Indeed, and we are slowly wrapping up the Totally 80s marathon. We are on Big. Came out
Big.
June 3rd, 1988, directed by Penny Marshall, starring
Oh,
of
really?
yes. Oh, you recognize the name?
Hmm. No, I didn't expect it to be a woman.
Oh yeah. Directed by Tom Hanks, or it's not directed, sorry. Starring Tom Hanks, Elizabeth Perkins, Jared Rushton, David Moscow as Little Josh, Robert Luggia as Mr. Macmillan, and John Hurd as Paul. That's basically it. There's a couple other like recognizable faces. Deborah Jo Rupp is here as Miss Patterson. That's kind of fun. I just know her as Mrs. Hart, even though it's not her name in WandaVision. She was in that '70s show,
hmm
but I didn't watch that. So,
hmm
but yeah, Big. I
hmm
love 98% of this movie, and then that 2%.
hmm
I honestly, upon this rewatch, I don't quite know how to feel about it.
hmm
My, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah. No, there's definitely like elements about this that people would argue haven't aged well, I guess.
Yeah, there's,
It's messy, I would
it
argue.
is, it is. Do we talk about it right away, or do we save it for later?
No,
Okay,
because
okay.
the opening movie is very charming
Yes,
for the most part.
it is
Like
so
it's
sweet.
it kind of immediately pulls me in.
Mm-hmm.
The kid actor they got does a great job. Um, I felt like I don't know, I was like on the kid's side very
Yes,
quickly, you know?
indeed. They got good
Yeah.
little actors for the kiddos, and I think
Mhm.
I was trying to like we do while looking at this more critically. I was trying to like weigh and measure and so on and so forth. I think we spent just enough time in the kid world to
Mhm.
get a feel for like what life is like right now, what he's struggling with,
Mhm.
what his interests are. There's a lot of really good Chekhov gun equivalents that you don't catch at all.
Mhm.
Like they do their little rhyme song, which comes back and is important later. We get the fun wizard game. We see some of it, like what they're into. He collects trading cards. Like they are kids. They're doing kid things,
Mhm.
and the way it's portrayed feels very normal, very natural. Nothing stands out in an obnoxious way. So
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Yeah, like there's a bit of like movie picturesqueness to it, but for the most part, it's kids being kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're running around, being genuinely interested in things that kids are interested in and having a good time and being neighbors
Mm-hmm.
and it's very I liked it quite a bit
Yeah, it's
um
very
for
whimsical.
the
It's very
most part.
sweet.
Hmm
Um, and then I like when after we find the Zoltar and we make our wish, I even though there's elements of humor, they approach it from a real place of not quite horror, but uncomfortability, unease, mystery.
hmm
Like,
it it does feel fully spooky, like there's
yeah,
still kind of like an undercurrent of like this is kind of funny,
uh-huh.
but at the same time like the kid is genuinely scared
Mm-hmm.
and you're invested in the kid, so you're genuinely
Yeah.
scared just like a little bit.
There's an
um
earnestness
mhm.
that this movie uses
Mhm.
to make it gives it a layer of, I think, credibility, and you get to relate to the character more.
I was going to mention this a bit later, but I feel like it fits here. I think there's a filming element that really helps that particular part of the film shine. The part of the film where like you are earnestly and you're attached to the characters. It's the long shots.
Yes,
Like they
yes.
hold
We
long
linger
moments
in
for the
things.
character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the performances are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like maybe just because, especially in our modern era, we're used to very quick, fast cuts. I mean, just count to five the next
I
time you're
know.
watching a
Ugh.
scene and see how quickly the camera moves. You're lucky in most things if you get past 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just like a patience with this one, where you would hit the point where you would expect them to cut to a new angle to keep it visually interesting, but instead the camera doesn't move.
Yeah.
Or maybe it slowly follows the character.
And
But
the
like you
music is
don't really
beautiful too. We get to linger in that as
yeah,
well.
there's nothing changing. You are just sitting there watching an emotion play out for the character.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful. I
hmm
really, really like it. It has a really powerful effect. The moment that I think of is with that first night in the hotel. Like
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
I
It's
mean, there's obviously a whole lot of setup that goes into that, but it's just
mhm,
sort of like one thing builds on top of another until it's just a guy trying really hard to keep it together. But
mhm.
it's scary
It's
and it's a
so
lot
scary.
and he's
Yeah.
overwhelmed. And you
I
watch that overwhelm him. It's
mhm.
really good shot.
It always scared me when I was a kid too, just like being in there and cuz for one, home invasion was one of my worst fears as a kid. So
Mm,
like yeah, like I would have moved the little dresser thing too, and like I didn't understand that like the guy on the phone is banging on the wall. I thought he was trying to break in, and it just always spooked me
mm-hmm.
more as a kid. I will say real quick before we get too far, I think this is the first time I've watched this movie as a full blown adult. So
Mm.
there was something that was different for my viewing experience this time that I think will be fun to talk about later on. Um,
I haven't seen this before, and
really? Okay, I forgot. I'm
my
sorry.
opinion no, it's fine. My opinion is that this movie is not for kids. Not in the sense that it's, like, too inappropriate, just that I don't think that it's really made for kids to enjoy.
I
I feel like most of the good stuff in the film, they
mhm.
wouldn't really understand. I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving enough credit.
I don't think it's that because
Mhm.
I wanna push back against that, but not that you're missing it. I think it's just I did watch this as a kid, and when you watch it as a kid, he's living the dream. He's buying the stuff
Mhm.
he wants. He's playing with the stuff he wants. He's eating what he wants. Like there is a layer of hardcore enjoyment as a kid. Not only that, he's getting attention
Okay.
for his interests. You know, like he's getting
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
there I loved this movie as a kid. I kind of skipped
Okay.
over it the teenage years, and that was the first time I really watched it as like an adult. So there's another layer, but like I did watch it, and the whole like I'd like to spend the night with you and like sleep over, and yeah, but I get to be on top. It's like, well, yeah, because of the bunk bed. My parents were
Yeah.
laughing, and I'm like, what is it
Yeah.
rude? And then I
Well,
thought,
that's
is
kinda what
it
I
rude for your
mean.
to
Like,
have a friend over? Should she be on top? Is that what they should do? Like, yeah. And then like when I was a teenager and I saw like a bit of it, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it now. Ha ha, ha ha, everybody,
mhm,
ha ha. But
mhm.
when I was little, yeah, they go over your head, but they are vague enough that I would not consider this movie like you had indicated
Inappropriate.
inappropriate. Like I would
Mhm.
absolutely let a kid watch 98% of this movie because there are
Okay.
there are some good jokes, and when you're a kid you don't care, you just don't, in the
Mhm,
best way possible. And I do think
mhm.
for a movie in the 80s, for a movie exploring what it is exploring, it is remarkably restrained. This movie
It
made
could be
today
way
would be
worse.
so gross, so awful,
Yeah.
so tongue in cheek, and like the other joke that I like, where that one guy, what's his name? He's like a well known face. I don't know his name though. Like, hey, you see that girl? If you say hi to her, she'll have her legs around you. You'll be
Mm.
begging for mercy or whatever. It's like, oh, I'll stay away from her then. I don't want to. Oh
Yeah.
no, that sounds scary. I love how that comes back at the Christmas party. How she says hi and he just
Mhm.
won't even
He's like,
acknowledge her.
"I'm out."
Yeah, it's so good. So I'm sorry, rambling. I will push back on.
Yeah.
I think this movie is
Okay.
incredibly enjoyable for because this is a lesson in many ways for kids to learn. Everyone at one point in their
Mhm,
youth wished for this. We get to see it
mhm,
an example of you get it and what can happen. Like it's a the movie, while not subtle, the lesson is be careful what you wish for, with a lot of other stuff in
mhm,
there as well.
mhm.
So I think it's enjoyable for both. It is all of the art stuff that we've already talked about, the long shots, the music, the focusing on the character moments, have to add real quick. Tom Hanks is crushing it, always does, but like early
He
days,
is.
he's incredible in this. We get to see lots of the emotion. He emulates a child incredibly well. So all of that is
It's
great, and you appreciate it more as an
kinda
adult.
spooky.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Well, you go ahead. I've been going on and on.
I don't really know. I just was thinking about his performance because it's really quite convincing, and there are times where like things felt kind of strange, not necessarily even like the complicated stuff, just that there the the scene where he tells his mom that it's me, I made a
I
wish,
know, yeah.
like that.
It's
Maybe
tragic.
I just wasn't ready for it because I think it's supposed to be tragic, but I also kind of felt like maybe there was a bit of like playing for laughs that I was kind of uncomfortable with.
Mm.
And like there's particularly because we don't really prioritize the mother character from her
Yeah,
point of view in the story. Like
yeah.
she thinks her kid has been kidnapped. She thinks some strange guy is wearing her kid's underwear. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is genuine horror in that. And instead of like, I mean, like they do allow her to act exactly how she probably would act in that scene with like first just, please don't just take the money and then you have my kid. Let me grab this knife and kill you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is exactly how she would respond in that situation. But there was just I wasn't convinced that the film was going for that. It was more like the film was like, look at how ridiculous this situation is.
Mm.
And I don't know if I like that tone. I feel like it's a nitpick, but that kind of bothered me a little bit.
I'm a little torn because I see what you mean. I feel like the way they do it, it just I don't know. It goes back and forth kind of between something that's funny and then something that's serious and something that's funny and then something that's serious and then it ends with a very tragic bit where the mother is chasing her own child out of the home and they don't like she doesn't realize it, but
Mhm.
it comes from such a genuine place of he barges in. He's scared and he's
Mhm.
desperate. He wants his mom. He doesn't know what to do. She's terrified because
Mhm.
random guy just broke in, and so he leaves. And because he's a kid and can't quite do the math and is expecting his mother to understand or believe him, he thinks it's because he didn't wipe his feet. That is
Yeah.
genuinely funny and genuinely sweet,
Mhm.
but it also adds to the horror of him then coming back. I always laugh at how he shatters the thing that he's like, "I made this for you,"
Yeah.
but it
I made
also
this for you.
it's coming from a place of desperation where he's just trying to put it back down. Like so I
Mhm.
don't know. I see what you mean where the tone kind of goes back and forth, but it goes back and forth because of these genuine believable moments. And I think you're right, we probably could spend a little more time with the mom to appreciate her, but we will not appreciate her perspective of horror if we see any part of the first bit of this movie from Josh's perspective. You have to be her the whole time to appreciate it
Mm.
because if we know it's Josh, we can't relate to the horror. We just can't. So
I
it's
don't know. I think that's maybe what I was feeling in the scene. Like I
mm,
obviously there's the sort of like humor that comes from him not fully processing the whole situation. Like he doesn't even really know why his mom is scared. And there's humor in that simply because humor comes from the contradiction, the awkward, right? That's
mm-hmm,
what humor is. And yet I especially the moment when she realized that her kid was in danger. Like this is a home invasion. Like
mm-hmm,
she doesn't know what's about to happen to her. Some strange guy who's clearly out of his mind just walked
mm-hmm,
into her house and then apparently has like knows things about her son and has like his clothes. Like
mm-hmm,
like I was kind of already at the point of fear and the scene
mm,
wanted me to laugh and I it
mm,
just like I think this scene would have been better if it started humorous and then played out a little bit more like the hotel scene. Like where
mm,
it's like we're sitting in the genuine
mm-hmm.
consequences of what has happened.
This is interesting having someone who's only seen this as an adult. Like this, it's well, no,
Sorry.
it's not. It's not bad. It's just it's considering more of
Mhm.
the adult perspective, and that is intriguing. Like when you watch it as a kid, you don't have a single ounce of parental instinct. You can
Mm-mm.
only relate to Josh. So
Mhm.
that is interesting. I'll have to consider that more. Like, cause I know what they're trying to do with the mom's
Mhm.
perspective, obviously, but I think I always do lock in a little bit more with Josh's perspective of just
Hmm.
wanting to explain. Also, usually in movies, I get annoyed that there's not clear dialogue explaining or elaborating, but you can't expect that from a 13-year-old kid. So,
Yeah, no, this scene plays out almost exactly like it would. I just
hmm
felt like the tone was a bit wrong, at least
hmm
at the end. Like, this is a comedy, but it's also a kind of comedy that takes time to be honest about the
hmm
consequences of what's going on. And I felt like that was missing in that scene. And it feels, I don't know, like not necessarily that we need it for Josh's perspective of the story. It just feels, especially because we don't get to see him really reunite at the end. It's almost
yeah,
like we don't care about how much stress and panic she was under. Even
hmm
when he calls her, there's humor taken out of her fear and panic, and he is calling her for kind of like his own comfort. And I don't know, there's like it's not about her. The whole film
hmm
is not about
yeah.
her losing her kid.
I
And like it's not supposed to be, it's not
right. I was
supposed to
gonna
be, but
say
I
like
there's
it's not a
there's just like
family movie.
they don't leave it, they don't resolve it. And I don't like
There's no way to
maybe
resolve it though. That's the thing. There's no way to explain what happened.
yeah.
He has to tell them that some crazy guy or some crazy them because he keeps saying they in the letters
Mhm.
kidnapped him for unknown reasons and somehow, some way, some why they didn't hurt him. They didn't touch him. They didn't do anything to him. There's no way to explain that.
But like I don't feel like you have to tie up all the loose ends necessarily, but I do feel like you have to show visually that he gets to reunite with his mom. And ideally both his parents, but his mom is the one they've kind of centered on it. I think it's kind of weird
I
to prioritize the love story over the family story in that
to
moment.
to an extent, I see where you're coming from, but I like how it ends because it ends like there's I'm trying to word it the right way. There's for one, we spend more time with that character, Susan. So I like I like how that ends where we don't see like the united Josh and the mom, but the movie really ends with Josh and Billy. Is it Billy?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that it ends
He
with
is the
that.
main through line there. Yeah.
Yes. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand it narratively. I understand it visually. I don't think it's necessary here because of what you already admitted. It's not a family movie. It's not about her. We need
Yeah.
it so that it
Yeah.
feels real enough. We need it because if you don't
Mhm.
include it, it doesn't make sense. But the mom element is not the forefront here. This is a story about being careful what you wish for and this weird combo of what it is to be a kid and what it is to be an adult. And this movie is very much before that movie Tag made it popular. You don't stop playing because you grow old. You grow old because you
Mhm.
stop playing. Like that is so prominent here,
Mhm.
and I love that. So
Mhm.
because I see. Since we're on it just for a second, while we're on the ending, and then I'll stop talking again because I know I'm going on and on. There's another version of this movie where Susan doesn't get confirmation of what's actually happening, that it is some sort of weird magical moment. And I
Mhm.
really like that that didn't happen. I think it
Mhm.
weighs more because we know that he's going to get back. We know that he's reunited with his mom. We know all that. That's fine. But I don't think there's anything wrong. Like her character isn't bad given everything that she knows and doesn't know. Technically speaking on paper, she doesn't do anything wrong. She's
No, yeah.
been taken along on this crazy magical journey without knowing it. She needs to see that what he said is true. She needs to have that little nod of like the adult world saying goodbye to the kid world and the kid world leaving the like and
Mhm.
she needs that confirmation that this was legit. So I like that
Mhm.
more than seeing the mother embracing the child in the arm. We got that in the Goonies. We already saw that. So I like how that happens, and I like that we end with talking about just normal, ridiculous kid stuff. And I like the music that ends with the piano because yes, Josh is taking piano anyway, but so
Mhm.
was what Boss Macmillan. And so it's this
Mhm.
only connecting thread truly that's a thing that was remembered all the way to the adult was a little piano song. So I really like how it ends.
Yeah. The piano scene in the toy store was actually fantastic. Like,
Iconic.
it's really, because I do think that there's a level of this movie allows a little bit of like hand waving at the way that, he acts while he's grown. It's I don't think it would actually work out as smoothly as it does. And I don't think it's because he's at a toy company either. I do think he'd have an insight in toys that they would all have forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the metaphor of it all. I wouldn't change it, but there's definitely a level of like this wouldn't totally fly in the
Mm-hmm.
real world. But this moment in the toy store when he kind of was able to bring a bit of play and fun to some, like, I'm going to say real adult's life,
Mm-hmm.
because he was just using what he learned and doing something fun. That was really, really cool. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
toy
like I
store
could see it
sequence is one of my
happening.
favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, it's collaborative, it's art. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much kind of going into that, and then everybody gathers around and watches because it's worthwhile. I don't know, it's nice. I like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah. And I like how it kind of it illustrates more than anything what the issue is between him and what's his, is it Paul, the dad from Home
All sounds
Alone,
right.
Paul, um, that he's he's so confused and so angry as to why Josh is doing so well and getting promotions and such, and there's no joy in his life. He's not in the job for
hmm
joy. He doesn't partake in anything joyful, and Josh is the exact opposite. And there's another little message or metaphor that they've thrown in there that
hmm
that's where he's coming from. And like Josh thinks of toys that would bring him joy, and Paul thinks of toys that for some reason somehow did well in a focus group. Like who was that focus group? That's bitch please.
Um, I am fairly certain that there's a level of critique, not just on like the adult world and how people act as individuals and as a group as they get older. I think there's a critique on business
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
in
And it's
this,
out of touchness. It
like,
just makes shit. It doesn't think
yeah.
about what the
Well, focus groups and numbers
uh-huh.
and data, like all that can be useful. But when that becomes the end goal, you have lost sight of what you're supposed to be doing as a business. Like, I don't know, unless you're a accountant sort of situation. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is there's very little reason for numbers to be needed
Mm-hmm.
for their own value.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers are like words. If you're not saying something intentional with them, then they're just marks on a page. And work has a tendency, corporate America has a tendency to like deify the data and the numbers and trying to get the profit margins up or whatever. And, to the point where everyone knows it's pointless. The employees are like, slow down. I know you're only striking a few keys on your keyboard to enter in some information that's already been provided to you, but you're doing it too
Yeah.
effectively because
That was
it
so
like 'cause
funny.
we just like you're
I
gonna make the ourselves
yeah.
look bad because we're intentionally slowing things down
Mm-hmm.
so that it looks difficult so that we can get paid.
Yeah.
Like this is a nightmare to
Mm-hmm.
me.
And I said I didn't get that as a kid just because I wasn't, I mean I understood what he was saying as I got older, but I was I
hmm
didn't I hadn't really done anything with computers. We didn't have computers growing up. So to watch this now and him really just type a button 7 times and it's like, hey, slow down. It's like, you guys are so incompetent
Yeah.
that like this
No,
is
like there was a
impressive.
level for a moment I went, he's actually gonna do fine. And
Uh-huh.
not because he's a kid in a toy company, but because he's just following directions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that easy. It's that
Yeah.
easy. It's that easy. There's paper, there's a computer. I put the paper numbers in the computer. It's severance. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is ridiculous. And I don't know. I This is probably more of a personal thing than anything else, but that I'm trying to imagine an existence like that where your job isn't really accomplishing anything and you're okay with it.
Mhm.
And like, hey, if you get paid in today's society, there's no judgment there for me. It's
Mhm.
just that is not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I get
I'm
that.
convinced like humans should not be living like that. And this film is like, yeah, also 100% humans should not be
Mhm.
living like this.
Yeah.
Like it's about experiences. It's about pursuing what you want. There's a
Mhm.
level of like I don't think the film really is too harsh on adults. I think it's harsh on the systems and the expectations of adults.
Mhm.
But I like when it comes to like the main character's happiness, Josh's happiness, you actually see him become quite happy as an adult because
Yeah.
he has the agency and the means to
Mhm.
pursue what he likes.
Mhm.
And he has to surrender that when he decides to go back to being a kid. So
Mhm.
like there's something very real about like, hey, you get to decide what your life looks like. Why are you choosing this?
Yeah.
And
There's a
I
level.
love that.
Yeah, because most of the adults we spend time with are the higher ups of this company, and
Mhm.
there's a blunt kind of like message of you guys are miserable because you're choosing to be.
Mhm.
Like you're not miserable because you're adults. You're not miserable because of adult life even. And like there are movies that explore that and I can respect it because there is
Mhm.
stress that comes with being an adult. We're not exploring that here. You guys have
Mhm.
everything that a kid wants and you've forgotten. And granted, yes, it's over a course of time, but still you have completely forgotten and you're just involved in the most you spend time and energy worrying about the dumbest things. And
Mhm.
it is sad. It is unfortunate, and it's fun to kind of put some focus on it. I do think it's interesting. I like a lot, excuse me, that the boss man, he is a weird little exception in a way.
Mhm.
Like, he's still an adult,
He's the kind of
but
guy that actually seems like he would run a toy company,
yeah, like
like
he's
he
actually,
has a bit of that joy to
yeah,
him.
he's in it. Like, he actually cares. He doesn't
Mhm.
make toys for the money. He's just so far removed from it because of natural progression of age and whatnot that
Mhm.
he doesn't remember what all a kid would like. But he loves he's kind of like I sometimes I think of him as shit, what's his name? The guy in Toy or not Toy Story. The guy in Home Alone 2. The owner of the toy store who loves kids,
Mm.
never had his own, who's really into like this guy, is very similar. And I like that he likes Josh. He sees
Mhm.
the joy, the interest, and the genuineness that comes out of his
Mhm.
opinions. So I like the boss character quite a bit.
Yeah, they do give us a diverse kind of like stories for the adult characters. It's not like it's Josh versus the adults,
Mm-hmm.
it's Josh as a new element, and because of that element, people are starting to question things or crash out or rediscover the joy of, running a toy company.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this, I like that we get those different responses to him. Even like his coworker, like the guy who is, almost shared a cubicle with. There's
Mm-hmm.
a certain level of like response to Josh that maybe it's not full on commentary, but you get kind of like perspective into choices and why we make the choices we make and if we really want to be making those choices. The costuming comes into play here a little bit too with our oh gosh, what's her name? I only have Cynthia, which is the wrong girl.
Susan?
Susan, and like she starts out wearing what you might call like villain garb, pointy
Mm-hmm.
black
Yes,
shoulders,
indeed, yes.
snug, it doesn't look very comfortable. And then by the time we're at the party, she's still in black, still sharp, wearing like a tutu kind of skirt. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
floofy.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we see her gradually start wearing more colors, more loose,
Mm-hmm.
like she kind of becomes a different picture altogether. Her hair is down most of the time. I forgot that she wore her hair up in the first half of the film. Like there's this visual story happening too, talking about how she's choosing comfort and brightness and happiness instead of sort of like this strict, limited version of herself, which
Mm-hmm.
I thought was kind of cool. It was a little in your face when she opened the door and she was in like a bright blue, bright pink collared sweater
Yeah.
situation.
Uh-huh.
But I think the point is still made. Like it's not just like she's choosing to be around a new person, she's choosing to live her life differently because of the perspective change that she's had, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought about that as much, but you pointing it out, I see it immediately. Those Cruella de Vil shoulders, and then
Hmm.
the black dress, and yeah, no, that's very true. Good stuff.
Hmm.
Let me think here. What else? I mean, there's plenty to get into. There are lots of funny moments. Um,
Hmm.
I used to think as a child, $187. That's so much money. But yeah. Ooh.
I was doing the like inflation math in my head and thinking, honestly, what is it? 180 a week with inflation
I don't know.
considered?
Yeah.
I don't know how bad that actually is.
Well, the other guys weren't thrilled about it. And then the
Yeah.
bank moment is really funny with like, oh, how would you like that? $100 bill, 3 dimes, and 87 ones.
Yeah. And then
Such a,
one,
yeah,
two.
such a kid thing. Oh,
Yeah.
gotta say real quick, Billy is a fantastic friend. He's coming up with
It
plans and getting
is.
us clothes and getting us money, and it's very sweet. The locker room moment where they have to sing, that is more tragic than the mom sequence, but I think it's earned more because again, we're kind of supposed to be putting ourselves in the kids' perspective.
Hmm.
Um, so that's really good. I will say, other than the Magic Zoltar machine, there is the most unbelievable thing about this movie is that this happens to Josh, and their idea is go live in the city as a
I
13-year
know.
old. Like, there are so many movies where, like, oh, I found a giant talking robot in the woods, or I met a
Let me go
werewolf,
hide it
or
in
I'll hide
the
it in the
canyon
basement.
I
Like,
know.
but no, my best friend who has just turned into an adult, we're gonna go put him up in a shitty rat motel in New York City. The amount of commuting this 13-year-old boy is doing back and forth between New Jersey, and that's giving me anxiety. That's something
I
fully
know.
I've embraced as an adult. That's freaking me out.
I like watched him, like they were having problems at the end of the film and I watched him leave him in the middle of the street one time and I just went,
So
ooh,
whoa now, whoa now,
ooh,
whoa
I
now,
don't know.
whoa now. Hold
As
his
a kid
hand.
in New
Like,
York City.
uh huh.
There was one really funny moment, like the first night they're in New York and they're trying to find a place when they cross the road and Tom Hanks runs like across the
Yeah,
street like
like a
you would if
kid.
you were a kid. Yeah. It's just lots of little moments like that. I mean, the camera almost didn't even follow that, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just constant little choices that
This
are great.
this movie made me think that it's not just Tom Hanks' voice that he contributed to Woody, because
Hmm. Mm,
his
yeah.
general body language is
Yeah.
very similar to a rag doll. So
I
I
had that thought when he was waking up, actually. It just, there were a
uh-huh.
couple of moments I was like, this feels almost exactly like a scene I've seen from Toy Story,
Yeah.
just like getting
And
out of the
it's
toy chest, plopping down on the
yeah,
ground.
that when he runs across the street when he's flailing on the ground after he gets lasered, it's like this
Yeah.
is just Woody. So,
I wouldn't put it past them. They
no.
use real life, inspiration for most of those
Mhm.
things. So.
Well, let's see. Okay, we're about halfway through. I want to hit on a couple of things. Um, there was a layer of sadness for me this time around as an
Okay.
adult. Well, just because they don't have toy stores like that anymore. It's just not as big of a deal. And
Mhm.
it was just kind of sad to think that this is now, not only is it a past in some ways as a whole, like Toy Story 5 is going to explore this, that kids don't play with toys as much. It doesn't mean that they all don't. Like, I know Toy
Mhm.
Story still exists, but it is not as consistently and as big a thing. And even though I still engage in my passions, I think a great deal, and I still have fun, I don't play with toys like that anymore. And it was just kind of
Mhm.
sad to think about just for a second that I'm fully on the corporate business adult side of this movie, and that was something I was not expecting this time around. I get
Mm.
like the movie for adults, I think, times that letter showing up and Billy showing up perfectly. Because minus the night with Susan, which we'll talk about, minus that, I've like am fully invested in like, yeah, he's got a place to live, he's making money, he's happy, he's
Mhm.
got this great
Mhm.
idea for this awesome toy, he's got a
He's
fantastic
honestly kind
job,
of got life figured
he's got
out.
life figured
Like
out.
there's
Like, let's do
yeah.
it. And then this little redheaded shit swizzler comes in and he's hanging up my phone and he's ruining my meetings. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm 13. I shouldn't be
Mhm.
here. Like, this is wrong. Like, but
Mhm.
I've never watched this movie and been annoyed at Billy for doing that and had to
Mm.
check myself and remind myself, oh, wait a minute, no, this is not where we're supposed to be. I was fully into it this time around. It's like, oh no, this is life. And life isn't too
Mhm.
bad. This is good. But it is important to remember the amount of stuff he's skipping and the amount of stuff he
Mhm.
hasn't learned and stuff he I like that the character himself, even though it's a little bit late for some things, can verbally say he's not ready for this. I think that's important.
Mhm. Mhm. No, and well, I actually don't know if as a kid I would have been on Billy's side. But um just because like he's got it figured out, man. Like
Yeah.
it's his choice. Leave him alone.
I would have found a way to
But
deposit or withdraw my money before leaving New York City, just because you know he's
mm,
got thousands of
mhm.
dollars. Like
Well, maybe. Kind of looks like they tried to spend it all.
he's got I don't know, maybe, but
Well, I guess he did become a like CEO, which
he's
not
vice
CEO, but like
president
he's
of
yeah.
development of toys. So
He probably has some money put away.
yeah.
That's yeah. But when it comes to like the end bit where he like needs to recognize that he's time to go home, like that is obviously how it should end. But there was a certain like the moment where he kind of grows up, I guess, is kind of in line with the progression of his relationship. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was kind of interesting because most movies will use youth and, you know, um, but yeah, no, it's just they movies will tend to use, especially the beginning of a new relationship or just like, love as a kind of return to youth. It's supposed to be like a thing that saves you from the monotony and trials of life.
Mm-hmm.
And this one almost kind of suggests the opposite. And I don't think it necessarily means to have like a critical point of view, but it's sort of like that's an adult thing that is an adult mindset. It's going to kind of change the way you operate. And I think that's in there a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. I don't know how intentional it is. I don't know how much it is just like where the relationship should be for that part of the story or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's once he gets serious about someone is when he
Mm-hmm.
gets serious about his life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an element of that there.
Yeah. I think there's multiple little things around that as well.
Hmm.
Him getting serious about her for sure, but there's also a little bit of what's the word? He's given an opportunity, and it's made explicitly clear, and so like it's kind of it's another example of him having like a his life is in his hands in like a good way. But like when it's his idea
Hmm.
to come up with something. So like he gets to pursue something that he's passionate about, something he's interested in, and he takes it seriously because it's a level of seriousness that he's never experienced before. and that adds to his adultness. Like I think that's one reason why he gets so involved in his work and argues with Billy, is because he actually cares about it now, because he gets to have a say in it a little bit. Um, I do. But I'm torn on a couple of things. I think it's visually perfect and tragic that his wardrobe changes over time as well. The opposite of Susan's.
Good catch.
Not in the
Mm-hmm.
color necessarily, but he goes from
He
his
starts
fun
wearing
jackets.
suits.
Yeah, he wears when he goes to visits the town. He's in a suit and that like adult man city life long coat thing. Um, but when he gets off the elevator after his night with Susan, him ripping off the "Don't Enter" sign that's written in crayon. Yeah, okay. We had some adult life last night, so we're gonna act a little more adult. But I would love to see the whole. Yes, I'll take a coffee, make it black, and then it's like, yeah, because like that's nasty no matter who you are. So that
Mm-hmm.
would be adorable and fun.
Mm-hmm. I expected it actually,
Me
and then
too.
it didn't
Yeah,
come.
you'd
I was like,
think.
"Oh, okay."
So we're just drinking
So no,
coffee
he
now.
actually is like
Mm-hmm.
it. The movie is saying no, that actually happened. Not that
Mm-hmm.
he's trying it. That he has kind of
Yeah.
owned it and become it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What's a couple of other little things? Doo. I think the comic book idea is really fun. That's just objectively, I think
It's
that's
a
a cool
solid
idea.
idea.
Yeah, if back in '88,
Mhm.
that's dope. Um,
Mhm.
let's see. I want trying to think of some things I hit on before we like get into the either nitpicks or the problematic element. Doop 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 doop. I mean, I know I'm forgetting something here or there. The actor for Billy, he's doing great as well. I have to mention him.
Mhm.
I kind of like in a weird way that Paul doesn't get any kind of comeuppance because he's
Yeah.
not a
I
villain.
mean, his life is his comeuppance.
His life
Like
is fine. That's the
has
thing.
no he has no love in
That's
his
true.
life.
That's true.
And he gets drunk because some guy at work is
Hmm.
doing better than him.
Yeah.
And like I mean like everyone's definitely had moments where like how come this newcomer is getting all the attention and love? I've been
Right.
putting in
Right.
the work. I've been doing the job. And it looks like he has been doing the job. It's just that his
Not good at the
priorities are all
job.
wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
He's.
because his priorities are all wrong, he loses everything. Like
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure Paul and Susan are exes, right? They just are still living together because of economy.
Well, no, they were dating until she leaves the party
Okay.
with Josh.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um but there's just like there's a coldness
Hmm.
to him and he suffers because of the coldness. Like
Hmm.
I think it's kind of built into it. That guy is in pain from the moment we see him till the
Hmm.
last moment we see him. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I think he does get comeuppance. It's just not your classic like pie in the
Yeah,
face comeuppance, you know?
I see what you mean. I guess I just because
Hmm.
it's not the classic comeuppance, it makes the movie feel a little more real because he's just
Mm-hmm.
another adult. Like
It's
nothing,
it's life.
there's no karmic justice
Mm-hmm.
or anything. It's just that's just life. Um.
Mm-hmm. You make choices, you live with the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, the party sequence is hilarious with the suit and all that, and the baby
Hmm.
corn that he doesn't know how to eat, and
That
the
was so funny.
yeah,
It was another example of the long shot actually really paying off
uh
because
huh.
I thought we were just gonna get like a little nibble and he was gonna like toss it over his shoulder or something, but they like committed to
Yeah,
it.
he did. Yeah, it's great stuff. And the double dipping over and over, like it feels
Yeah.
like a 13-year-old. Like 13 is definitely pushing it, but I think it's the perfect age for this, where like he is
Mm,
ridiculously childish, but also like competent enough to do some of this computer work and get things to the Xerox
mhm,
room if told, and so on and so forth. So
mhm.
that's all good and fine. Oh God. Okay, so the
You all
problematic
waited
thing.
for it.
Yeah,
Now it's time.
I want to say something, and I want you to you correct me if I'm totally
Mm,
off base here. Real quick, is it necessary? No. Said that. Done. However, and that's a really 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 light. However, I was trying to think of a way to word this while watching it because it's I don't know. Okay, let me because I'm not trying to be playful and I don't want to be crass. I feel like there's this weird. It happens naturally. It is almost portrayed because of how he acts afterwards with the whole like this weird the pull of the adult life versus the child life. It's almost like a coming of age story, but he's too young for that.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I remembered this bit before I watched the movie. And I've spent the last few years thinking, oh, that's just largely problematic. Weird, hardcore weird, gross, don't like it. Upon watching it this time, it was different for some reason. Where like I sympathized with Susan more when she
Hmm.
realizes what has happened. And because of because she doesn't know anything and because Josh is interested again, not necessary, but I didn't find it as hugely awful as I was expecting it to be, if that makes any sense at all.
It's I don't know. I have a hard time wording it as well because I do feel like there's a line that's crossed,
Uh-huh.
but I also kind of wonder if they're telling the story they want to tell, like if it wouldn't have felt kind of weird
Mhm.
to not include at least a piece of this.
Something
And
like
I'm not just
this.
talking just like, yeah, just because
It's part of adult
I don't
life in
know.
a way.
It
Like
is. And
he's
like, I think let me just
experiencing
say
adult
it's just
life.
a part of adult life, but I think this movie is trying to be very honest and very real. Not necessarily that they're trying to portray exactly what would play out if something like this were to happen, but it's trying to do the thing where they don't lie to kids.
Mhm.
And I the way that they build up the relationship, the fact that like she's clearly proposing, and he's just kind of like not getting it, and
Mhm.
nobody really forces the issue until it
Mhm.
kind of comes to a point where they're both in that moment.
Yeah. I think if you give the movie credit as well, it's important that she doesn't force herself on him. Not
No, yeah.
that like and I mean that very gently, like she's not lost in passion and like just
Mm,
attacks him. Like
mhm,
that doesn't happen. They both
mm,
slowly let the other make the moves. And again,
mhm.
I'm very much aware this is a technically a child. It's not necessary, but I don't know if it's wholly unnecessary. Like
Yeah.
it's like what Robin says, I'm whelmed. It's not overwhelmed, it's not underwhelmed. I might just be whelmed because and I think what helped me feel a little bit better about it was in the end when she drops him off at home and they go in for that last kiss of their relationship. She won't do it. She kisses his
Mhm,
forehead. And
mhm,
he even grimaces like, "Yeah, you're right." And I really appreciate like there's an awareness in this movie that I
mhm,
was not to be no pun intended that I wasn't aware of when I watched this as a young adult. I just thought like, "Oh wow, no, well, I'm aware that this is a problem." But
mhm,
there's something about it. And but I did think if you switch the sexes, there's immediately an extra layer of gross. But there's a version of this not quite, but like this idea this is poor things in a way, and that is
mhm,
portrayed as a certain amount of empowerment when she utilizes sex in a way. And I know it's different, but like it is a child's brain put in an adult woman's body in that movie. It is the same thing in
mhm,
a certain extent. So I was trying to think like, am I being unfair because it's a guy and a girl? And if you do switch it, I think you could do it just as artistically, but there is a layer of weirdness when you flip it, just because of how our society and culture is regarding all that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I may be rambling
Well,
at this
I
point,
think
but
that has to do with there's a I mean it's really kind of uncomfortable to talk about, but there is a pattern
hmm
that young girls have to deal with
mm,
that
hmm
doesn't as frequently show up for young boys.
hmm
I think it would be fair to say that the average like male child is able to explore that kind of at his own pace,
that's true.
where it kind of happens to girls in a lot of ways. So, like this is an example of like an accelerated situation, which yeah, maybe we don't need it. Maybe it kind of complicates things in the way that we feel about the story,
hmm
but it is a guy at his own pace discovering those things.
hmm
And I think that's the part that makes it genuinely complex to sort
hmm
of process.
hmm
Um, Whereas I don't know if it would feel that way flipped simply because of the kind of standard
Yeah.
or average numbers of what it's like as a girl growing
hmm
up and encountering that world.
hmm I think it could be done. Honestly, I think the closest thing, and this is not the same thing, but the closest thing I could think of is the Wonder Woman scene after the fight in Germany with Steve Trevor.
Hmm.
It's like a
Hmm.
slow, gentle, at their own pace kind of, because she's never experienced it. It's like it's,
Hmm.
but it's not the same thing. She's not a child. She's,
Hmm.
if anything, it's the
There is a
exact.
movie called 13 Going on 30 where essentially the same thing happens, but with
Oh,
the female protagonist.
oh, really? I've
Um,
never seen that.
I've Okay, well, it's considered a chick flick, but I don't know. I do know that there is a love story in that, but I don't think they play it out as far as they do in this one.
Oh,
But it's very interesting. It clearly takes some inspiration from this if they don't have a common ancestor. But it, I don't know. I remember
interesting.
that one. There might be a kiss, but I think that's as far as it goes. I've only seen like bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've ever watched it all the way
Yeah.
through.
Do you think that this
I
movie
was trying to
could?
compare that.
Do you think you could convey what they're trying to convey with just a kiss? Like she could have, he could have kissed a woman, and then started drinking black coffee and dressing like an adult. Like, could they have achieved the same thing?
Narratively, I think you can, but I think it's kind of the same principle as like the long shots. Like you
Yeah.
can communicate the idea or you can sit in the idea. And this
Mm,
movie's thing was about sitting in the moment.
mm,
Um, I don't know if that necessarily means that it has to be done,
hmm
but it would be a compromise of the vision, I
Yeah.
think.
Fair enough. What do you do as poor Susan? Like, you can't talk about it in therapy. But like, my
Dude,
God,
I don't
you
know.
gotta act like that never happened. But now everyone at work is gonna be searching for Josh Baskin, the adult man who's gone
Yeah,
missing.
yeah,
So like, it's gonna be weird as hell.
yeah. I like
So
the film let him be gone for so long,
yeah.
though. Like,
hmm
a lot of these sort of like age-changing movies tend to be like, you have a week, if not a
hmm
day, and you got to figure it out. But this one really just is like, nope, full on, whole picture, adult life. Let's see how you handle it.
hmm
Um, I am glad we watched it. I've not seen it before, and it was definitely worth watching, I
Yeah.
feel like.
This is a classic in my opinion. It's so good.
Hmm.
And I was thinking as well of just like the movies that have kind of spun off from this in some ways, or reference it because it's similar. Like Shazam references this quite a bit because it has a similar
Hmm.
idea, but they don't do it as well. Like Zachary Levi acts way more childish than the actor who plays Billy Batson does. Like, it's so funny that they did this back in the 80s and they nailed it. I think Tom Hanks really nails where like the goofiness, the
Hmm.
silliness, the innocence, the shitty
Well,
little
I think it
boy
helps
thing.
that even though Josh was 100% like a kid doing kid things while he was actually a kid. There was also a level of you saw him making reasonable choices in those few
Mm-hmm.
moments that we did see him. Like, I mean, he was still making, the dumb choice to stay up late and talk to his friend instead of going to bed. But there were, conversations and things that he did. And like, he felt like a full real character who was making real choices and not just like a silly, goofy
Mm-hmm.
comic of a kid. And then we actually see how they manage to write and portray like kid in adult situation of adult body pretty well, I feel like. So
Mm-hmm.
it feels like he's a little bit out of it in the sense that he doesn't totally know what's going on around him all the time because he lacks experience, but he's still making choices. Like he doesn't he people would argue that maybe he wastes his money, but he doesn't go broke. He's able to
Yeah.
get an apartment
Mm-hmm.
and take care of himself. I am a little curious about the food situation, but he's able to
Yeah.
get an apartment and take care of himself
He's only 30 for
because
6 weeks, so if it went on longer,
yeah,
he'd probably start feeling it.
scurvy maybe.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, probably,
No
probably.
veggies were being eaten in
No.
that household,
I do
but it's
again
still
in
I don't
this
know.
film done in another or made today. He doesn't try alcohol in the entirety of the
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
Like that's I think that's there's what's that movie with the three little boys who are trying to get to a party and they try a beer. And they're like 12 or 13. It's Good Boys, Bad Boys. What is it called? It's from the last couple
Remember,
of
I don't know
years.
this.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not even that unbelievable, the idea of teenage boys wanting to try
Mhm,
alcohol, but like they don't include that at all in this, and I appreciate that.
mhm. It is interesting that they drew a line there and
Hmm.
not at the relationship thing, but there is a moral conversation to have around that. Like, should drunkenness be okay when
Hmm.
relationships aren't, there's an interesting question.
I could also miss it. They could be more subtle about it when they're discussing the comic book idea. They've got pizza, and Susan's drinking wine. I don't really clock if he's got a wine glass or not.
There was only one wine glass that I
Okay, then I
saw.
think it's. I think they're saying that he doesn't even try. But then Billy does suggest after the birthday party that they get some beers
Go beer.
and some dirty magazines, and Josh doesn't do that because he's got
Yeah,
other
he
stuff
says
going
no.
on. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, did he turn 13 in this movie? Oh, somehow, for some reason, it makes it feel worse for a second. Ugh.
Oh yeah, because the cake.
Because they have a birthday, and then he says to Susan, I'm 13. He turns 13 in
Ooh.
this movie. Ooh, somehow, some way, for some
Technically a
reason,
teen.
somehow, that makes it feel
Oh.
so much worse.
That really changes it a whole lot, but it's like,
I know, but for a second it
could we not
does.
have done the 13 to 14? Well, no, we can't do narratively, we can't do the 13 to 14 thing because it's about growing up. And so
Yeah.
becoming a teen is the whole thing.
Narratively, I don't think we need the birthday
The
scene.
birthday.
Like,
Agreed.
we could just say that,
Agreed.
in the beginning, we're 13 and we want to grow up. We're
Mhm.
tired of being treated like a kid. We're a teenager now. We're an adult. Boom, you got it. Go pay your taxes.
Well, I also think it like kind of back to the agency thing. I forgot to mention in the beginning, the reason he doesn't like the situation is because his agency has been taken from him. He can't go on the ride that he wants. He can't
Mm-hmm.
like he's interested in a girl and he manages to go over and talk to her, but somebody's kind of like beating him to the punch. And he's a lot taller and he has a car. So like there's a kind of like he wants to be grown so he can do what he wants to do. And when he is grown, he does get to do what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a cost to it. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I feel like this film manages to very accurately and honestly talk about the consequences of a situation like this and what it just like is like growing up without falling into the sort of cartoonish tropes that have happened and come up around this conversation. There's always like you know, the kids want to grow up too fast, give them a job and see how they panic. And this one's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, it's actually do pretty well with tasks.
Yeah.
And most tasks are not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's still a difference between the way that a kid lives and the way that an adult lives. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah. I like it. 'Tis a whale.
I'd say so.
Tis a whale. Would you recommend it?
With a note, yes, I
Yeah.
recommend it.
I don't even know. I feel
Hmm.
like you kind of just got to experience it, maybe.
Really?
Because if you tell someone about it, they're
Yeah,
gonna be waiting for it the whole time.
that's true.
It's kind of gotta let them experience it, see what they think. But yeah, definitely
Yeah.
recommend.
Hmm.
All right, cool. That's us. We're at an hour exactly. We made it. Anything else to say about Big?
Nice. If this was the first movie of its kind, everything else that has followed it has been a shallow interpretation.
I can get behind that.
I've
I
not
think
seen an age
technically,
flipping movie with as much heart and
yeah.
earnesty as this.
I can't think of one. Technically, the Captain Marvel comics will have predated it, but
Okay.
I mean, for all I know, that's exactly what this movie is based on without the comic book. He becomes an adult due to a
Sure.
wizard kind of thing. You know, it could just be that comic
Hmm.
book and they wanted to do a version of it. It's also not that crazy of an idea. A child becomes an adult.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's what happens in real life every
yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's us. That's us for now. All done. Cool.
Bye.
Bye.